So, hi everyone. Today for the interview, we have with us Dr. Raul Villamarin Rodriguez. Sir is a Pro Vice Chancellor and Dean of School of Business at Watson University. He holds a PhD in Artificial Intelligence and Robotic Process Automation Applications in Human Resources. He's a former co-CEO at Arians Research Institute, a research institute specialized in the field of neuromarketing, AI, ML, market research, behavioral science, social research, and behavioral engineering. He's also a registered expert in artificial intelligence system, multi-agent system at European Commission, a nominee for the Forbes 30 under 30 Europe 2020 list, and an awardee in the Europe India 40 under 40 leaders. He has co-authored 2 reference books and has more than 70 publications to his credit. He's a weekly contributing writer to various magazines in the field of analytics and emerging technologies. So we are glad to have you with us for this interview.
Same here. Thank you for having me in the interview.
So, sir, I'll begin the interview. So, just with some basic questions, like how, so you have been in academic field since long, and you have held key positions at Education Institute throughout your professional career. So, what are the key factors that keep you connected with the education sector?
Well, I also being a student myself, so obviously that is one of the key factors that you keep in life. We never stop learning ultimately, despite of our position. And education system is what trains humans, not just professionals, but is what trains people. And not so much towards getting a job, which is the byproduct, but towards creating a good human being and a good citizen, which is much more important. So I believe this is what keeps me connected overall, irrespective of my current position, is more of a human touch rather than anything else.
Okay. And so you are a Pro Vice Chancellor at Watson University. So what is your philosophy of leadership? Like, how would you describe your leadership style?
Well, I preach by doing, so I never ask anybody to do something that I have not done myself before. And that applies to anything. So even if I ask to teach some particular number of subjects, I might have done it myself earlier. So all this kind of preach by doing before just imposing on people pays good results. Apart from that, if we look at the institution, there are various critical factors which are not normally there in India, and one of them is globalization or internationalization. Now, it's very easy for an institution to get partnerships, but it's very difficult to implement global education principles in the Indian education system. That means capstone projects, that means leading the students to improve themselves by themselves without any external support or guidance. So this kind of self-driven lifestyles, I believe this is how I also lead or try to lead individuals on various spectrums or various levels by not just leading them, but training them on how they should lead their own lives, which is much more important, creating these autonomous beings rather than somebody who is just there to receive instructions.
Absolutely. So, sir, you mentioned about the education system in India and other foreign countries. So, how do you think are they structured differently? And in your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying at Watson University?
Well, abroad, normally abroad meaning Europe, US, Canada, some South American countries. If you look at these countries, which are normally very well received by Indian students or try to go there for any particular degree, here the focus lies in 3 areas. One is internationalization, as I just mentioned. Then is alignment with corporates, and the last is research. The focus on placements is almost inexistent. That means that there are career services, there are certain guidance principles involved, but placeability or employability is not the ultimate goal. It is a byproduct of your efforts. So turning that into the Indian context, if students ultimately have alignment with corporates, they do projects such as life projects or custom projects, they do valuable internships, Ultimately, corporate professionals come to the class, teach them, getting involved in their own regular working routine, be it on report, production, or any other task. Students will actually learn. And when that happens, then there's no need to even help them looking for a job. Jobs will come to them, opportunities will always arise. That is the main difference between both education systems, and Voxing is what we are doing. We are focusing on this particular parameter, these three areas specifically. And I might just mention, in our, especially in the business school, and also expands to other schools as well, such as design school, our students have to publish a research paper. It is a graduating criteria. So, such as passing exams or attendance, or even internship, publishing an external research paper, be it maybe some other project or copyright, it's part of the graduating criteria. So they will leave the institution with something to their name other than a degree, which is something publicly available, such as a research paper is, for example.
Okay, so yeah, as in you talked about the various activities that Voxen University is taking up, but like when you came first to the Voxen University, what was your vision, and like how far have you come along in implementing the vision for Voxen University?
When I first joined Voxen, I was basically appointed to do two things. One was lead a certain area of the School of Business and develop technological side, which was the artificial intelligence, partially quantum computing side. That has been completed. So the AI lab, the analytics lab, as well as the robotics lab have been fully expanded with corporate partnerships, and obviously the manpower, such as professors, are also in place. And students are doing great in that front, not a problem at all. They're doing live projects and they're doing hands-on projects with companies on artificial intelligence. So that has been moved down the way and it's going in the right direction. Now the next stage is to do a further development across the other three schools of the university. And this implies corporate partners have to be the everyday bread and butter for every school. Obviously, we're not asking for corporate partnerships every day. That is unrealistic, but there should be a constant flow of corporate connect. People coming, teaching, people giving projects. As our faculty doing projects with that company, developing some new product or service, analyzing it together. So that is happening currently, and we are moving at a very fast pace in that regard. Even if you look at the international partnerships, last year there were 2. As of today, 1 year later, we have 26. So we have moved very exponential, and we are on all the accreditation bodies, especially ACSB, EFMD, obviously on the Indian front, NAC is there. So we are working on all these arenas simultaneously, and everything at a very fast pace. So it's going in the right direction.
Okay, and so you have expertise in machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing. So, like, what do you think students from different background? Why do you think students from different backgrounds should learn these subjects? Why is it important for them, and not just tech background, like in general?
Well, these areas have been highly overhyped thanks to social media and general media. Putting it across such a sort of divine or mystical area where you learn it and you will get a job. Again, the same problem, learn to get a job, but not learn for the sake of actually learning. So that becomes a problem by itself. These areas is not about the importance toward a job, it's about the importance toward our daily routine. Autonomous vehicles are there. We all have a mobile phone, which is a smartphone. And that smartphone already has certain machine learning algorithms, which are supervised learning, very basic. So if we don't understand what we are using on daily routines, and even now we are having a digital interview, where there are also certain machine learning algorithms happening in the picture, if we don't recognize that, then ultimately we are pretty much lost in life. And this is not going to go away. This is just going to keep on growing, and it's growing very fast. Now, it's not impossible to learn. Obviously, if you want to learn to program it, you need to have programming skills. Even if you want to learning Python or learning C++ and Java is not an earth-shattering task. It is possible. You need to, of course, invest time. but people from BCom, people from BA or BBA background can also do it. It will take a bit much of an effort in that regard because you need a bit of statistics knowledge and maths also. But nevertheless, if they understand at least the practical application and the strategic application of these platforms, should be good to go. Because in this world there are many people. There are software developers and there are AI leaders. So these AI leaders may not know how to program, but they know where to go next. So these two roles, these two arenas, management versus technology, can go very well hand in hand.
Okay, got it. And sir, what do you think are Voxen University's top strengths are in terms of curriculum or academics or faculties or industry connect? So what do you think are top strengths of Voxen University?
Voxen currently has a strong footage on artificial intelligence, analytics, financial services, and overall, if you look at arts and planning, design, architecture, that area, overall as an umbrella, it's also there. But it's pretty new in that regard, so it's still growing. But if you look at the financial services side, we put them being a better status. We have partnered with Bloomberg, and we have their Bloomberg Lab in campus, 20 terminals, with their system and their software. We are currently in talks with the National Stock Exchange, the NSE, also for partnering. And companies such as Anand Rathi, HSBC, even Morgan Stanley have already agreed to come. And not just for recruitment, we're talking about come to deliver, come to interact with the students with projects, give them real-time projects during the course of their degree, and then assess their suitability for the companies. So this is going at a very strong pace. And on the tech side, we have been in the show for the last years, analytics versus AI, these two areas going hand by hand. And it's going pretty strong. Right now, we are even having a sort of commercial division to it, where companies come, request us to develop their products, and we develop it for them. So that backend developer is happening, and we are doing it as well, and students are getting involved into that. So actually, we're giving them that real-time exposure by really developing a product, not just by lecturing them in the class, but by doing it hands-on. So this is broadly, of course, architecture and design come on a different scenario, and it will take some time to cop up. But overall, these are the areas where Voxen can be defined well.
Okay. And sir, like any insights on how Voxen University could be more welcoming to students from different races or different backgrounds?
Okay. Voxen is currently having, from this academic year 21-22, they will have some incoming exchange students from Europe and Brazil. So they're going to be coming. At the moment, obviously, we are talking about online delivery for obvious reasons, but it will happen physically shortly. So Voxen is a place, and I can tell you, I'm myself being from Spain. When I first came to Voxen, I saw the infrastructure and I saw the campus. Obviously, I was not familiar at the time with the city of Hyderabad or maybe the overall land. But once I saw the infrastructure, the facilities, I don't see anything to envy any Spanish university or any German university for that matter. Where you look at the facilities, the infrastructure, the technology. So there is no inconvenience based on we can say, technological as well as luxury levels on campus. So that is not a problem for any student. If we are looking at different backgrounds, meaning state-wise within India, there is no issue whatsoever, mainly because all the admin people as well as faculty staff members in campus speak English. So it's not a problem. If not, they speak Hindi. And of course, if they come from a particular region, they may speak the regional language also. So that obviously enhances the suitability for the students to feel more at home, considering that they have a difficult time. Maybe they come from, let's say, West Bengal, coming to Telangana, maybe representing a difficulty family-wise. That should not be, because in campus there is no inconvenience at all, and it's a self-autonomous campus. There's no need to go out, basically. Everything is there, restaurants, gymnasium, whatever you like, you can have in the campus itself.
Okay. And sir, just wanted to shift focus on higher education sector in general. So what do you think are the biggest challenges in higher education right now or in coming years, and for Voxen University specifically?
Well, online education is a big challenge, especially for practical degrees, namely architecture, design. We don't offer it, but even MBBS or engineering, for that matter, which we do have. Online education, it has its pluses. Obviously, you can do it from anywhere. But if you look at practical degrees, when you need to do hands-on development of some products and work with the materials, it's almost impossible. I mean, there's no way on earth you can actually work on it. Yes, you can have virtual reality, but ultimately, if you do that, when you go in the real world, you can tell me, will you trust a doctor to do a surgery on you whose degree was obtained through virtual reality and not in real time scenario? Obviously, you have your doubts. So the same thing will happen here. So this is one big challenge that we have. And second challenge is industry is moving at a very big pace, and academia, because of regulators and other bodies, is moving at a lower pace. In fact, one gentleman from one of our corporate partners told me the day before yesterday that deadlines for corporate industry is 1 month, and for academia, the same deadline lasts for 1 year. That signifies that ultimately, if we try to collaborate, there is going to be a mismatch in expectations. Is it our fault as universities? I don't think so. If a private university has autonomy, but it has limited autonomy. And when you look at regulators, whoever it may be, if they put certain restrictions, obviously it's going to slow you down significantly because of approvals and so on and so forth. That is a big challenge for higher education, that we have to really relax the regulatory bodies, processes a bit more, make it more stable. And obviously the online education, I think, is another big challenge, which hopefully will be balanced at some point, but I don't think anytime soon. But obviously this is something that everybody's facing right now.
So, since you talked about online education and there are challenges in online education right now, it's not enough to provide practical exposure to the students. So, what kind of activities are going on at Voxon University to cope up with these challenges? Any specific activities?
For the last one and a half almost now, since the pandemic has started last March, we conducted online classes first on Microsoft Teams and Zoom, these two platforms. So it was to go smoothly. Now the problem arises when you have to do the actual technical subjects in the campus, such as carpentry or the like for design, engineering, or architecture degree. Now, how do you cope with that? Well, our faculty became a bit more creative and innovative, so they started showcasing the students how they will do it in the particular lab, having the camera pointing at their activity. And somewhere or the other, we will implement it also virtual reality wherever we could. But obviously, as you can imagine, this becomes a very tedious process because you have to do this across all subjects. And faculty may or may not be technically savvy. Not everybody is as technically able to do things this way. So that was a big challenge. We have balanced it out. We have already experienced about it as well. But in between, the lockdown was relaxed, so students came to campus in month of December, Jan types, and all the technical studies were conducted then at that time when they were already in campus. Then lockdown, second wave kicked in, so again they went out, and now we are doing especially theoretical subjects. And on the management education, business school education, there is no major difficulty because most of the subjects do not need that hands-on work, except if you look, of course, at the social aspect of interacting with one another. That gets highly restricted, obviously. And we all miss that, I suppose. That is the biggest challenge.
Right. And so in terms of priority, like what do you think is the university's priority over like next 5 years or 10 years down the line?
In the next 5 years, the university is looking at the three aspects we spoke about before. And mainly we are looking at Voxon is basically offering international degrees in India. That is what we are offering. We are offering Indian degrees, but ultimately the quality controls in those degrees have the highest international standards, and they completely resemble international degrees. So we are pairing with them on the international front, and we go on to give all our students that exposure to global education, as well as corporate alignment, and obviously research. These three areas are critical to all of us. And this is what the university is heading towards. The byproduct of this obviously will be quality, students' improvement over time as professionally as well as personally. And lastly will be the accreditation bodies. Right now, especially on management education, we are immersed in 3 accreditation processes already. And this gives that edge that, all right, let's certify that you have quality, and because you do have it, let us put a label on it, that this what exactly will mean. So this is where the university is heading. I have, and this is my personal expectation and strategy for the university, I can see Woxen, though still slightly unknown in most of the regions because it's pretty new in terms of age, not as the all standard universities in the country, will grow pretty significantly. And with the amounts of investments in infrastructure, it's definitely going to be in the top rankings. And well, I have really, really high hopes of that. I never seen in my last 7 years in India, and I was in Mumbai as well. I never seen a university with this kind of speed, where after 6 years of creation, they became a university. It was a B school, and suddenly it was approved to become a university in 6 years of origin. That has never happened ever in the country. So it's a huge step ahead, and that of course showcases what is the speed. This is what we're looking at.
Okay. And sir, one last question. The world is so competitive right now, and in terms of education, India is also the students have to compete with a lot of other students, as there is a lot of a big population who is competing for same kind of jobs and same kind of colleges. So, what would your suggestion be to current youth and aspiring students who want to aspire some particular degree or some particular course? Any particular suggestions?
That is where the problem lies. The focus is on the job. Yeah. And I know why it is in the job, and I understand that. There's not like I'm not understanding it, but the focus is incorrect. Even if you look at sports, if, for example, now the Euro Cup in football is happening, if a team comes out with the only motto of winning the cup, they will never win anything. They have to go match by match, defeating each opponent, understanding each opponent and each point in time. They cannot dream so big that they miss the present while thinking about the future. This is what is happening in India with the majority of the students. They're thinking about big packages, big jobs, big companies, and they're missing the current steps of literacy, reading, immersing themselves in exchange programs, maybe going to conferences, attending them, speaking at them. That kind of edge is what you need to do. It's a huge amount of efforts. But if you don't do it, how are you different from the rest? Ultimately, there are so many worldwide. How will you differentiate yourself? By just getting a foreign degree that will not give you anything. There's another bunch of thousands of people abroad as well competing for the same. So ultimately, doesn't make a difference. You have to look at the development over time and interpersonal level.
Absolutely. So yeah, as in rather than focusing only on job, the focus should be on learning and the process. Is what the insight from this session has been, and much more insights as well. So I think the interview has been very insightful in terms of learning from Woxen University and what the students can get more information about Woxen University through this interview. And sir, I thank you for this conducting and giving us time to take this interview.
No problem.
Thanks a lot.